Alright, you can hear the dryer in the background, so, just try and ignore it. Today, besides the laundry, we're working on a project for a friend. He's got a problem. His espresso machine is not working. These are valve stems for an espresso machine, and he bought new O-rings, and they're too loose in the grooves. So if you don't have your espresso, that's a real problem. So we're looking at making some new valve stems. So that's what we're doing. And the problem here is we've got an Italian espresso machine that's probably 50 years old, and they built that thing to last forever. And the problem is, when something's built to last forever, you have a hard time finding replacement parts because the company that built the damn thing is probably out of business because they built the machine so damn good. There's not a lot of service calls, or for whatever reason. Plus, the damn thing's in Italy, so yeah, try and find parts. So we have this whole thing is metric. I know that doesn't bug most of you guys, but we're having to borrow his caliper because we don't do metric here. I know it's like get with the times. I bought some metric collets, so I'm getting with the times. Thank you. So we have an internal, almost Acme thread. It's a 8mm by, I don't know what the heck it is, but it looks like it approximates 10 threads per inch. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe that's 8mm by 4. I don't know. It's really coarse. So we're going to have to make a form tool for that because it's internal, it's left-handed, and it's almost a square thread. So we're going to have to grind a tool for that. And that's not one of my strong suits, but we'll give it a go. And we found we're going to make these deeper and wider, but that wasn't going to work. We already did a test fit with a plug just to make sure that idea wouldn't work without destroying the originals, because the last thing we want to do is destroy the originals. We at least have something to work with here. If we destroy these, we've got nothing. So we found out that we could redo the seats if we cut these to 400 deep. Then we could approximate we can actually get a good seal out of new blanks, but we need to be able to manage that internal, I'll call it an Italian Acme thread. So the challenge here is not to make a blank and to do the valve seats and all that. That's going to be manageable. You see, we've got a third here. So we're making 3 because we're bound to screw one up. And we're trying to go by depth stops. We're trying to use our depth stops so that we don't go over, because it's really easy to go over, even by 1/10 of a millimeter. It's really easy to go over. So we'll make these blanks as close as possible, and the saving grace here is that none of these dimensions are critical. This is 14mm, this is 12mm, and this is 10mm, and none of them are critical. The only thing that's critical here is this dimension. Even that's really not that critical. These are all rattle fit. So really, I guess the most critical dimension here is, of course, the depth and width for the O-rings. And we've got replacement O-rings that are Buna, so they'll be food grade. And getting that 400 thou depth, that's really critical here. And probably getting the square shank correct for the handle for the knobs, because if you don't get that right, then the knobs will be really loose or really tight. So we'll try and make sure that we get that correct. That has to be correct or they won't seal, and that has to be correct or the valve won't operate. So that's what we're up against today, and the blanks aren't too terrible to make, but we are dealing with square shoulders, which means that we have to have a very tight nose radius on our tools. These are almost, that's probably square cut actually. So using a tool with a nose radius is not acceptable here. You have to come in with a sharp square tool and clean up the nose radius. These have a little bit of a nose radius, so we'll have to see if that's going to be a problem. But everything else is not too terrible. These will require cutting back once we get them to the appropriate length, and hopefully we can do it.